Today, we're going to be going over 10 questions you should be asking yourself about your business and marketing. And this is not a be all end all list. Of course, there's a million questions you could be asking, but in my experience in talking with hundreds of people in this market, what are the things that I feel like people have to know the answers to, and it makes me shake my head. So the first one, and this seems really basic and elementary. What are my goals for business and marketing? But so many people have no idea where they want to head, what they want to spend, what the results are that they want. I was talking to a company a couple nights ago. I said, "So what are your plans for 2014? Where are you guys, what are you guys doing? Where are you headed?" And they said, "Well, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it yet." I was like, "Really?" They go, "Oh, I guess it's wherever our clients take us." That's what you want. That's or not what you want, but that's their goal, is to just let other people decide where their business is going to go. To me, that would be unacceptable. So you really have to start at the very foundation, and you've got to know what are your goals, what is your marketing, what kind of numbers do you want to hit. So many people do not do this. It's unbelievable, and I know it sounds really basic, but you really have to start there. They have the SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, timed. I'm reading a book called The 10X Rule, and it's by Grant Cardone, and he kind of poo-poos on the SMART goals. His whole thing is that there's so much resistance against you achieving what you want financially, you getting new customers, growing your business, managing your time. And there's so much resistance that you've got to put 10 times the effort that you think is necessary. You've got to spend 10 times the money. You've got to do everything 10 times to overcome all of that resistance. Because if you do everything just normal, like everyone else, there's so much resistance that you're not going to get to where you want to go. So it's just kind of a little side note there. If you're interested, check out that book. It's pretty interesting. So number one, start with your goals, your targets. Number two, what keeps my customers up at night? And this one's really interesting because you've got to know the pain points of your customers. That's the absolute key to selling and key to marketing, is finding out their biggest pain points, right? Poking at it a little bit, and then saying, here's the solution, right? So you've really got to think deeply. What are my customers worried about? What are their problems? What keeps them up at night? And don't just take it for face value what you think. Ask them. If you've got some customers that are close to you, ask them, hey, what's your biggest issue when it comes to blank? What do you wish our industry did more of, did better of? What's the biggest pain when it comes to our industry, right? What keeps you up at night in regards to your, right, and fill in the blank. So if you're asking them those questions, you don't want to use your company name because they'll sugarcoat it. But you really have got to work to get to the core of what keeps your customers up at night, so that when you're out there selling, what is their biggest problem, and then you can address that directly with a solution. Number three, what is my unique selling proposition, and is it relevant to my target target market? This is a really fascinating one because so many business owners I talk to, they don't know what their USP is. If you say, what makes you guys great? They say, oh, we've got professional service and we've got lots of years of experience, and that stuff's all great. But what truly makes you unique, right? What does nobody else do? What does nobody else have? Okay? Those are the things you've got to really think about. And is it relevant to my target market? Right? So you might be unique in that, I don't know, you're the cheapest provider. But if people in your market don't want the cheapest provider, if that's not, relevant to them, that doesn't keep them up at night, then you're going to fall flat. So really think about what makes your business special, what makes you different, okay? And go beyond just, we've been in business for 10 years, da 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 da, those sorts of generic things. Really think about what's that extra bit that you guys do that makes you better or different than your competitors, and make sure it's relevant. So here's kind of an example. And in 2014, we'll do a branding webinar. So we'll go more in depth to this. But this is what they call the BAV model. And if you look down here in the lower left, you need to start at differentiation right here. Number one, differentiation, okay? How is my brand different? And then as you work over here, you move up to relevance. Is that differentiation relevant? Okay? You've got to have both. You've got to start with both. So many companies just blend in, right? They suffer from obscurity and lack of uniqueness and lack of creativity. And you've got to really figure out what's unique, relate those to the customer's problems, and you'll really have a winning strategy. So here's an example of of a good unique selling proposition. I used to live out in Los Angeles, and they had the smell good plumber. Everywhere you went, you saw these, the smell good plumber, the smell good plumber, in the radio ads or TV ads, everything. And think about it, I still remember that. They're the only company, in that regard that I remember from being out there, because it's so unique and it's so relevant and it's creative, right? No one wants a nasty, smelly plumber coming to their house, right? So this is a great kind of USP that they've locked onto. And in their radio ads, they talk about how like everyone has a clean uniform, they're tucked in, they're clean shaven, they smell good, that sort of thing. So you're getting, a really nice, clean, put together plumber when they come. Here's one where there's differentiation, but there's not um, relevance to the market. You guys might remember the Crystal Clear Pepsi, and sure, it was different, absolutely. But they found that cola drinkers did not want a clear product. It didn't matter to them. So what happened? It flopped because it wasn't relevant. It wasn't something they wanted. It didn't solve a problem of theirs. They weren't running around saying, "Oh, if only this were clear," right? They were trying to take advantage of purity with it, but it just didn't resonate. So again, make sure that your points of differentiation resonate with your target market. Number 4, how did our customers hear about our service? Again, I'm just shocked at how few businesses track this. And I know it's not an exact science because someone might hear your radio ad, they might see you in a magazine, go on your website, and then say, "Oh yeah, we found you on the internet," even though some of the other marketing helped. But again, talking to people yesterday, and they were uncertain how effective their online marketing was. I said, well, because they hadn't seen a big increase since they started doing it. And I said, well, let's start with, where are your customers coming from? And they had no idea. So I said, is it entirely possible that some of your marketing has become less effective, your internet marketing has become more effective, and they've balanced each other out, and that's why you haven't seen a big gain in your business? And he said, yeah, it's very possible. But they didn't know. And when I meet with business owners who have this data, it's so powerful. So just ask people, how'd you hear about us? Don't get caught up in the sheer detail of it. Just have a good idea. How'd you hear about us? Right? Definitely need that piece of data. So, number 5, excuse me if my voice is going a little hoarse. The 4 R's. Okay, so we've talked about the 4 R's this last month: reputation, reach, resell, and referral. For each of those areas, you've got to ask yourself a question. Do I have a proactive system for obtaining positive reviews and monitoring for negative reviews? For reach, do more people know about our business today than yesterday? Resell, do I know all of my resell, upsell, and cross-sell opportunities? And finally, referral, do I have a formal referral generating system? Most business owners are going to answer no to most of these questions, right? Most people have a very scattershot approach. It's very hit or miss. They jump all over. There's not a good strategy. They don't see through to the end with a lot of this stuff. And again, it starts to chip away at your business. So, in regards to the 4 R's, you've got to have a good, reliable, predictable system in each of those. So ask yourself these questions, and if the answer is no, then ask yourself, how can I create a system to address each of these four R's? So number 6, what is the lifetime value of my customer? So the lifetime value of a customer is basically the revenue that they bring in times your gross margin times the number of transactions. So let's say that someone spends $100 a month with you and your gross margin is 50%, right? So that's $1,200 times 12 transactions times 50%. So let's see what that number would be. Well, I'm just trying to, so $100 a month times 12 transactions times 50% gross margin. So $600 will be the lifetime value if they did just 12 transactions, okay? Every business is going to have a different gross margin. And gross margin is just the revenue minus the cost of goods sold. So it doesn't account for, overhead, office rent, sales, marketing, that sort of thing. It's just the actual cost to produce that service. So let's say for myself, we sell a website for $1,000 and it costs me $500 to have a developer do it. That means the gross margin would be 50%. We get $500. Okay. So that's the first part of this. Okay. What's your lifetime value of your customer? The next part, and the reason you need to know that number, is you've got to know how much can I spend to obtain a new customer. This is another question that very, very few businesses know. A lot of people look at marketing and they think it's an expense. They think, oh, it's a lot of money. We don't really know what we're getting, that sort of thing. But in my experience, the companies that can spend or are willing to spend or know how much they can spend on marketing are the companies that are going to win. And the best investment you can make is back in yourself, in your business, in your brand, right? It's the closest thing to a sure bet. So let's look at this again. So let's say an average client is worth $30,000 and they only purchase from you once and your gross margin is 40%, right? So $30,000 times that 40% times one transaction will give you a gross profit of $12,000. Now, a good average number would be 10% on your marketing, okay? 10% of that gross profit on marketing. So, if this were your lifetime value of a client, that $30,000, right? You could spend $1,200 to get that client, right? And the math would still work out. So that's the number. That number is so key because your competitor might think, oh gosh, I spent $300-$400 on a client. And you're thinking, that would be a steal because I can go all the way up to $1,200 to get them and it's still worth it. Okay. And I know it's a struggle because if people pay, if you have a long sales cycle and you're not going to see that 30,000, for 6 months or a year, it's hard to pay 1,200 right away. But you've got to know that number. You got to know what you can spend. You've got to know the lifetime value of a customer. Okay. And again, if you have any questions about this, just put them in the chat box and I can certainly answer them as we go along here. Number 8, and this kind of speaks to the do-it-yourselfers. What is the cost of my time if I do part, or it should be, or all of my marketing by myself? And is that the best use and ROI of my time? A lot of people, when I talk to them, they'll say, well, what can we do ourselves? What can we do in-house? And what I say to that is, what is your hourly rate? What do you value your time at? Let's say you value your time at $100 an hour, okay, which is probably low for some people. And let's say you want to do your social media in-house. It's going to take you 2 hours a week, okay? That's $800 worth of your time that you're putting into that. And you're probably thinking, if you're on a salary, like, oh, it's free, right? So what is the best use in ROI of your time? Would that $800 worth of time be much better spent selling, building relationships, working on other things, other types of marketing that can't really be outsourced, right? That's one thing you've got to ask yourself is what are the things that are not worth my time, especially when it comes to marketing? And also on the flip side, what's the best use and ROI of my time when it comes to sales and marketing and that sort of thing? So you've really got to take a look at what you're doing, what you want to do, and ask yourself, hey, a couple $100 a month, and I can have this done rather than me spending $800 of my time. So, number 9, am I too busy running my business to do all of the necessary tasks to market it properly? I hear this time and time and time again where people tell me, oh, I'm just too busy to deal with this. I'm just too busy to learn it. I'm just too busy to do really anything when it comes to their marketing. And if that's the case, okay, you've really got to figure out a way to have someone else handle that or manage it. It could be someone in-house, it could be another company, whatever it is, but you can't let your marketing dry up. You can't not market because you're going to cause your pipeline, your sales funnel to start to dry up. And then you're going to get into this cycle of doom where you've got, this big long gap between new customers. And then you go and scramble and sell and market. And then you get a bunch of customers. And then all of a sudden you go back to being too busy running your business. And then the pipeline drains again. And then you have no customers. You scramble, that kind of cycle of doom. So if you're too busy to do the things that you want to do, the things that you think are necessary, you've got to figure out a way to get those in the hands of somebody else. And again, to have the best ROI on your time, right? Because I look at a lot of businesses when I talk to them and they haven't done a lot of really important things with their business and their marketing and their selling because they say they're just too busy. And that's too bad because you're leaving a lot of money on the table when you have that kind of mindset and when you allow that to take control in your business. So, number 10, okay? What should I be doing now so that I can stay ahead of the competition with my business and marketing? And I like to always kind of look at what's coming ahead. What's kind of the next thing? Let's get out in front of it. We had a client say, I don't care what it is. I just want to be a step or two ahead of my competition. And there's a lot of people in this market who do not see that big wave coming, who do not see where things are going, where things are heading. And that gives you a huge advantage to be out in front, right? To be that pioneer in marketing. And so this is what I always think of as Wayne Gretzky, the great hockey player, said, I don't care where the puck is. I just care where it's going to be. Okay. And I like to think about that to a degree with marketing in terms of where is marketing going to be and how do we get out in front, right? How do we become an early adopter, but not too early to where it's not tested or you're not going to get, a good result from it, but early enough that your competitors are going to have to spend so much more money to catch up, right? And that's where I kind of keep my eye on. So a couple examples of this, you look at desktop versus mobile searches and you want to know where it's headed. It's absolutely headed towards mobile. You see desktops almost flatline. So one thing, look in your business and say, okay, what can we do with mobile that our competitors aren't and that we can do to take advantage of this trend? I mean, the biggest thing is getting a mobile enabled website. That's an absolute no-brainer. That should be January 1st. I mean, that's the first thing you should do if you're investing in your business is get a mobile website. It's just an absolute no-brainer for so many reasons. Here's another one. You look at the amount of Pinterest users, and that's absolutely just exploded in growth. And so again, where is that puck going? It's going towards photo-centric social media. That's another huge area. And when I look at Houzz and Pinterest for this market, for designers, remodelers, contractors, home improvement in general, it is still such a blue ocean space. And being able to recognize that and take advantage of that is absolutely key. And so, again, look at where are these things going? Where is marketing headed? It's headed towards mobile, towards video, towards photo-centric social media. Those are just a couple that I can think of off the top of my head. And obviously, it can get a lot more complex than that. Um, but the big thing, and I'll leave you with this, the big thing when it comes to where the puck is going is data. Okay. And marketing is going to be so heavily data driven going forward. And so that's why you need to know your numbers, because that's going to, again, give you a big advantage. If you know how much you can spend, if you know what your lifetime value is, if you know where marketing is going, if you can take all that data and you can use it to your advantage, you're going to have a big leg up on the competition. So you really want to embrace the numbers that you get on your website, the numbers that come into your business, that sort of thing, and really use that data to your advantage. So the big takeaway here, you've got to set goals. You got to know your numbers if you want to achieve those goals. I just cannot believe how many businesses don't know where customers are coming from, don't know the value of those customers. They don't know how much they can spend to get that customer. And we'll go over marketing metrics in detail in February. But those are the main ones for right now. And again, businesses that let their clients take them to wherever, that's not a recipe for success. Okay. So the second kind of takeaway, you're in sales and marketing first. And it's funny because so many people start a business as a technician. And the problem with that is you think that if I just do a better job than anyone else, then my business will grow and will achieve everything we want to. But that's not true. You've got to put sales and marketing first. Everything in your business has to support sales and marketing. Okay, because nothing matters if there isn't a sale. So you really have to prioritize that part of your business, prioritize getting the numbers and systems in place, and and take it from there. And then finally, where is marketing going to be? Take a look at the trends. Search online. What are the marketing trends for 2014? And really kind of educate yourself on where things are headed. Biggest trends in marketing. That's another one to search. Biggest trends in technology, and work to take advantage of those and to get out in front of your competition. So, questions. I got one here. How can you engage Pinterest followers other than repinning your pins? Okay, so there's a number of things you can do on Pinterest. Um, One of the things is having more engaging photos, and it doesn't have to just be photos of your products. You can have photos that are coupons. You can have photos that are only for Pinterest followers. So you have you post a special or a coupon or something, and it's only good if you're a Pinterest follower. You can also do photo contests. I love the idea of a photo contest. It's probably the best way to get engagement is having people interact with your products or your brand and pinning that on Pinterest. So let's say um, you let's just say you sell appliances, right? And um, you do a Pinterest contest where you want people to show you cooking, on these appliances, engaging with them, and the funniest picture or whatever, the best looking meal, wins something. And those will get a lot of activity as well. Let's see here. What else? I think having educational pins. People want to be entertained or they want to be educated. So that's why infographics are so popular. That's why you see those steps to, like people have like how to make cookies and be step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going down the list. So there's a lot of creative ways to get more engagement. And really what you just need to sit down and come up with a strategy and execute from there. But I love the idea of doing a photo contest on Pinterest and mixing up the pictures that you do and making sure also that you follow a lot of people that are relevant to your business, your brand, your community, that sort of thing. An infographic. An infographic is essentially it's a way to describe kind of data or a concept in a really graphical way. So if you go on Google and you just go to Google Images and you search like marketing infographic, you'll see a whole slew of them. And they're really, really popular on Pinterest. They're really, really powerful marketing tools. They can go viral really fast. You can search on Pinterest for infographics related to your market as well to kind of see what's out there. And maybe, if there's a process that your customers struggle with, you could do an infographic about that. I mean, I think they probably cost to have someone do it a few $100 maybe, but it's a great marketing tool to get people to engage. You can ask them questions, that sort of thing. So just do a Google search or search in Pinterest. You'll see exactly what I mean. And if there's a process or there's something that your customers really struggle with to figure out, you could have an infographic created about that. So I hope that answers the question. So contact details. We're just about at the bottom of the hour. Again, check out the Remodelers Academy and our podcast, Built from the Ground Up. We've got a whole bunch of new interviews coming out in the new year, which I think you'll find really interesting, really engaging, and very inspirational. So if you've got any additional questions, certainly let me know. And Andrea, I can send you my little Pinterest guide, which will probably answer the question better than I can just off the top of my head, but I can certainly send that to you. And that should really, really help you with that. So thank you all for being on the webinar, and everyone have a great Christmas, great holidays. And our next webinar will not be next week, Wednesday, or the following week. Our next webinar is going to be on January 8th, I believe, at noon. So we'll send out the replay of this. We'll send out links and everything like that. So again, thank you everyone, and have a great Christmas.